and I did 7 days of silence. And then I felt like I got everything out of it that I needed. And then I was like, oh, let me do 2 days not being silent. But then it felt really weird to talk.
Yeah, I can
And
imagine.
then I immediately regretted even like talking again. Not talking again, but like being not silent because I started sitting down with other people and they were talking about stuff that I felt like, because when you're not talking for 7 days, you feel like speech, like you only want to say things that have value. You don't want to
Absolutely.
talk about things, because even in Buddhism and what I was reading about, what they were saying, that anything you say should be said um with intent and like with mindfulness. So you shouldn't say things that have no value, kind of thing.
I feel like learning to sit and just sit in silence and like understand yourself in that silence is so important to growing up. Because I feel like often we're thrown so much information, so much noise, so much like this. You get lost up in all of that. You forget who you are in the midst of all these things. But then, like you said, it's clouds. Once you realize your thoughts are clouds, you start to like cement yourself in that. And that's when you start to kind of have an identity. You start to be like, okay, cool, I am this. These are all just like clouds, information, noise. And then you kind of have an idea of who you are a little bit. So
Yeah.
when you came out of that 9 days.
Yeah, I felt amazing. Like I felt like a new person. I was so it was so honestly, the experience was so crazy because like there were times when I was meditating, I would literally start crying
Mm,
because I felt such a deep inner peace that I hadn't
mm,
felt since I was like born. I felt
mm.
like I was I mean, it sounds so like, I don't know, but
Reborn?
I felt like
I hear that.
almost like this kind of peace, and it felt like I was being born or something. Like that's kind of how it felt.
Yeah.
So yeah, even just feeling this deep inner peace and then literally just being overwhelmed by just happiness, and you're just sitting there, you're not even doing anything, and just started crying from that.
Hello, Maya. Welcome back to the show.
Hi. Thanks for having me
Thanks for being
again.
thanks for being here again. I really enjoyed the last conversation that we had. It was very eye-opening for me to kind of speak about topics like that. I've been wanting to get into that trajectory of like subjects and ideas, and sharing that kind of conversation with you was enlightening for me, for people around me. All of them kind of people reached out and be like, oh, this was amazing, I'm really happy.
Oh, that's so
So
nice.
thank you for doing that. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to talk about today was um places and environments. So let's start with where we are currently, London. What makes London so special, do you think? What makes London special for you?
Oh my God. That's a tough question. I think for me, I mean, I would say what made my time in London special, because for those who don't know, I'm moving soon out of London. What made my time in London so special is definitely the people. I would say the friends that I made here, the experiences. Um, yeah, I would say that the people always make the places special, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, sorry about the cold open, but I think the reason I started there because I wanted to use that as a springboard to talk about the subjects I want to talk about today, which is friendships and the environment and people, but also how these different places change you. Like you have mentioned, you are moving from London, but I always think it's interesting to kind of like look at your environment, look at the place that you were before you move on, kind of like analyze,
Yeah.
look back upon the time that you were here before you move on. So you mentioned the people. Actually, before we go into the people, actually, talk to me about when you first came to London. What was that
Oh
like?
my God, it was actually really bad. Well, I shouldn't say really bad, but I was just going, like, right before coming to London, I had gone through like the most depressed time of my life, actually. I was like the most depressed I've ever been, the lowest I'd ever been in my life. I had just come out of a really tough time in the hospital,
Mm.
and I had no job, no idea what I was doing in my life. I was completely lost. I had like just moved away from Japan and felt like I had lost everything in a way. And I was just like, it was COVID, and I was just by myself back home in Switzerland. And Oh, I was literally at the worst time of my life. Anyway, and then I didn't really know what I was doing with my life. And I was like, oh, maybe I should get into coding and, try to get a career in that field. So I applied to lots of masters and then I got accepted to a master's in London. And even when like right before starting the masters, I was like still quite depressed
Mm.
and I wasn't really looking forward to moving. I didn't even know if it was the right thing to do. It was just more like, well, I have to do something with my life, so I might as well just do that. And I kind of wanted to get out of Switzerland again. And I was like, oh, like I have friends in London, so I might as well like go there. It looks like a fun city.
Was that the reason you chose London? Was because you
Well,
have friends here?
no, I would say I mean, actually, the one place I wanted to go to was Amsterdam. So I applied to university there, but then I didn't get accepted. So London was my second choice. But then also just because, it's a good university and stuff. And then, yeah, that was like the main reason, I would say. And also, they were doing the exact course that I wanted to do. And then there was also one in Switzerland that accepted me, so one in Zurich. But I don't know.
You wanted to get
I
out
think it
of,
would have
yeah.
quite hard. And I remember they were like, we accept you, but there are these modules that you need to retake. But I would just have to do all the coursework and everything by myself. And it was kind of freaking me out a little bit. And I was like, oh God, I probably will fail if I go to the one in Switzerland. I don't know. Um, I mean, I still don't know. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe I should have gone to Switzerland.
Yeah.
Because I could have worked on the side and just made more money. Because, in Switzerland, the salary is quite good. So sometimes I'm like, oh, if I'd been in Switzerland, I would have probably made more money.
What was
Then,
your,
yeah.
because I'm fascinated by your first impressions when you got to London. I don't know if you'd been here before on like holiday or anything.
Well, I was living in Oxford before.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. Oxford sounds terrible. I don't know. Just anywhere not London just sounds depressing.
No, Oxford was so fun. I loved it. But then sometimes with my friends, we'd go to London on the weekends.
Okay.
So I was in London like a few times before, yeah.
Yeah. Because like, the reason I asked, right, and the reason I'm fascinated by people's experience of London, because to me, London feels like an actual, like a cauldron. You know those like things that the witches will put stuff in and you start mixing.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's like that because it just feels like a melting pot of all these different experiences, different people. And like, if you're not careful, you can lose yourself in it. But I feel like most people will make themselves in London, right? They'll come to London and then because of how everything is just like fast paced, everyone's always moving, everything's always happening, they end up having to become more of themselves. They end up having to find themselves and also they meet people who are also on that journey. So we all kind of like go on our journey together where we kind of end up finding ourselves in London, finding a different part of ourselves, a different version of ourselves in London. What was that your experience? When you start moving from Oxford to London itself, started living here.
So I moved from Oxford to Japan and then Switzerland, then London. I didn't move.
Oh wow! So you were bouncing a little bit.
A little bit. So you mean if I like found myself in London?
What was it like for you when you first got here, and like how did you find your feet almost? Like how did you get used to it?
The beginning was really tough because like I said, I was quite depressed and I was at a point of my life where, I mean, it sounds kind of sad, but I didn't care about anything and I didn't really care about, I didn't have any like spark or any like, yeah, because I was quite depressed. So I just was like, I just didn't care and I was kind of here, but so I think I was missing that excitement I usually have when you move to a new place just because of like my mental health. Um, so yeah, I guess the beginning was quite tough and I felt really lonely because I mean, I did have friends here, but obviously like I still didn't have like my life here, right? Like it's, I think, still different. And obviously you have to start a new life and you have to, get into like a routine and find your feet and everything. And yeah, so the beginning was just really difficult because I was like so like mentally like unwell and then felt really lonely and yeah.
How did you find your feet? You mentioned like, build the life. How did you start doing that?
Well, I guess build a life is just like you just have to, I mean, going to university and just getting into a routine, right? You just naturally get into that. And then I think I just started getting better like a year later actually. So the first year was actually really tough for me. I was really like unwell the first year. But then after that, I went traveling for like, I don't know what it is that made me feel better. It was, I think I guess just with time I just got better. And then traveling really helped as well. Like I traveled for like 6 weeks
Mm.
after I graduated and like in between working and graduating.
Where did you go?
So it was my first solo trip. So I was really
Oh
excited for
wow.
that. I went to Nepal
Mm-hmm.
and then I went to Thailand and
Mm-hmm.
I did like a meditation retreat in
Oh
Thailand.
wow.
Yeah, so that was amazing. And that literally like cured me. I felt so much better afterwards. Like
What did you do? What was the meditation retreat?
so it was in the north of Thailand, like near Chiang Mai,
Mm-hmm.
well near Pai actually, but yeah.
Mm.
It's literally like in the middle of nowhere. You have to take a cab for like 2 hours or something to get there.
Mm.
And it's like completely with like in nature and you have like your own little bungalow and then you meditate like all the time basically. You meditate like 5 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing like a silent retreat, so I didn't talk for like a week to like anyone. And you're also not allowed to use your phone, you're not allowed to listen to music or things like that. Like it's quite well, it's not usually actual like meditation retreats are even stricter. That one was not that strict because you're still allowed to read books. So I was just like reading a lot about Buddhism, meditation, and it was basically in a monastery and you meditate with all these monks.
That sounds fascinating.
It
Like,
was really fun. I loved it. I loved it. And I felt like I reconnected with myself. I reconnected with nature. And I felt so much more like myself again. And that literally like healed me, I feel like, from that whole.
what is it like not to speak to anyone for a whole week?
Well, it wasn't that hard because I wasn't there. Well, I was there by myself, right? First of all. So it's not like I was around friends and I always wanted to talk to them. I was around strangers. So, and I was there for myself and to really, look within myself and kind of just do some introspection.
Mm.
So I didn't feel the need to talk to anyone because
Mm.
I wasn't there to make friends. I wasn't there to, get to know people. I was there to really spend that time with me. So it didn't feel that hard actually. And obviously like there were times where I had to talk, but I feel like those times don't really count. For example, I think I ran out of toilet paper. So I was like, okay, by the way, like I need toilet paper. Obviously, like you need to
The
say
first
that.
thing you've said to someone all week is like, by the way, I need toilet paper. Yeah.
But I really like would maybe said like 3 sentences that whole week or something.
What is it
Um,
like? I'm trying to get like people to understand what it's like in their heads when you don't speak to anyone for, because we're so overstimulated over here. Like,
yeah. And also
everything.
not being on your phone and you also like and also being away from all this stimulation, right? Because there's nothing. It's
Mm.
just nature and that's it. Like there's nothing to really like entertain you or, watching movies, oh, but okay, fine. I was reading books, but just meditating most of the time, really. That was pretty much it.
Could you give us some advice on meditating and like ways? Obviously you're not a meditation guru, so I'm not asking you to give professional advice and expert advice, but from your experience, what were some of the things that you did that really helped you during that week when it comes to meditating? How did you, because it's really hard to sit still for a long time.
Well, it wasn't like my first time meditating. I had been meditating for years before I went to that retreat.
Mm.
So I kind of knew about it. I had read about it as well, like quite a bit. I'd started back in uni actually with meditating. Oh no, it was when I moved to Japan. Anyway, so for me, how I meditate is because I guess there's different ways. There's the ways, for example, of like listening to something, or you have these meditation apps. But I like to just sit in silence
Mm.
and just being really aware of the present moment and trying to really be in the present moment and not thinking of the future or the past and
Mm.
just being mindful.
Mm.
And yeah, then you close your eyes, you sit down, you can focus on your breath, which can really help. And I just try to focus on like my surrounding, my senses. So for example, I would listen to what's around me, or I would really feel my body, feel my arms and my
Mm.
legs and so
Mm.
on. Um, yeah, I don't focus that much on my breath actually, but just trying to be present. And then what they always say in like to meditate is so you can get thoughts obviously, but try to not get too caught up in your own thoughts. So even if you get a thought, that's fine, but kind of just watch it come and go, watch them come and go basically. So not get too wrapped up in your thoughts and even when you do, try to come back to the present and try to kind of, it's like they say, for example, thoughts are kind of like clouds. Try to you just need to watch them pass by, basically.
And at the end of that, how long did you do this?
So I did it for 9 days, and I did 7 days of silence. And then I felt like I got everything out of it that I needed. And then I was like, oh, let me do 2 days not being silent. But then it felt really weird to talk.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And then I immediately regretted even like talking again. Not talking again, but like being not silent, because I started sitting down with other people and they were talking about stuff that I felt like, because when you're not talking for 7 days, you feel like speech, like you only want to say things that have value. You don't want to
Absolutely.
talk about things, because even in Buddhism and what I was reading about, what they were saying, that anything you say should be said um with intent and like with mindfulness. So you shouldn't say things that have no value, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And then I was sitting down with these people and they were complaining about random things of the monastery, and I was like, well, this is kind of not the point of coming here. The point is to, anyways.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, I wasn't even there, and I probably would be annoyed if someone started talking. I think it's such a fascinating idea too, and sorry for the tangent, but I think it's so
Yeah, we
interesting.
started talking about.
But no, this is super interesting. I think this is,
Yeah.
we'll go back to London in a bit, but this is fascinating to me because I feel like learning to sit and just sit in silence and like understand yourself in that silence is so important to growing up. Because I feel like often we're thrown so much information, so much noise, so much like this. You get lost up in all of that. You forget who you are in the midst of all these things. But then, like you said, it's clouds. Once you realize your thoughts are clouds, you start to like cement yourself in that. And that's when you start to kind of have an identity. You start to be like, okay, cool, I am this. These are all just like clouds, information, noise. And then you kind of have an idea of who you are a little bit. So when you came out of that 9 days.
Yeah, I felt amazing. Like I felt like a new person. I was so, it was so, honestly, the experience was so crazy because like there were times when I was meditating, I would literally start crying because I felt such a deep inner peace that I hadn't felt since I was like born. I felt like I was I mean, it sounds so like I don't know,
Reborn?
I felt like
I hear that.
felt like almost like this kind of peace, and it felt like I was being born or something. Like that's kind of how it felt.
Yeah.
So yeah, even just feeling this deep inner peace and then literally just being overwhelmed by just happiness, and you're just sitting there, you're not even doing anything, and just started crying from that.
Which goes to show, right? We don't need all these distractions to find
Yeah.
joy. We don't need, I think we get so lost up in trying to find distractions to kind of like keep us occupied, you know, entertainment, can keep up with the Kardashians, Love Island, all of these things. And like how beautiful are these things? And you know, and like you see these monks, we think, how could you do that for like that much time? But they finding connection of like their actual self. And I think that's what you felt. That's what you found there, you know?
Yeah, and it was just, I felt so confident within myself. Like I had no doubts about what I was doing. For example, even now, I guess like, you know, kind of came back to being my old self in a way. But I would think, oh, should I do this or should I do that? I don't know. Should I do this? Should I do that? Like I always have doubts, or I'm not sure about what I'm doing. Or for example, even, you know, I want to start a business in Morocco, and I'm like, yeah, but is it gonna work? I don't know. But when I was in that retreat, I didn't have these kind of doubts. I knew exactly what to do, and I was very like confident, and that felt really liberating because I didn't have this fear, and I didn't have these doubts. And yeah, I just felt so, I felt so free because I felt like, oh, I can do anything. And yeah, I don't know, it was such a great feeling. And then just feeling really at peace. And then I remember after the retreat, we came back to Pai, which is like the closest town from the retreat. And it was like quite a small town. And I felt so overstimulated just by being around people because I was so used to having my own space. Like even the fact that there was so much more noise and people. And I was like, whoa, like this is like too much. It was literally like hurting my brain. 'Cause I was so used to just
The choirs,
like no stimulation at all.
yeah.
Yeah. So
It's very difficult. I think it's so difficult to find like, because I've been looking for that kind of peace or level of peace in the real world, let's call it. What is work? What is all these things? Because it's so hard to find out, because you come back knowing that you have to do all these things, but you fear kind of like losing that peace. And I think the more you try to hold on to peace, the more it just slips through your hand.
For example, when you're in London, you're like, oh, I need to meet a friend at 3 p.m. and then I need to go for dinner at 7 p.m. and then I have this and then tomorrow I have this and that. And you always think of like what's next and the schedule. But it's almost like, I guess that's, you can't escape that, right? If you want to meet people or if you want to even go to your job, you need to like go, like follow a certain schedule and follow a certain time. But there, I didn't have to do that. I literally just could do whatever I wanted, whatever I felt like doing. So I was like, oh, today I feel like doing this. And I never had to look at the time. And I think that was also just like a nice feeling, not looking at the time at all and not feeling like, oh, I have to be here at a certain time. I mean, I guess we still had that with like the meditation, but I don't know, it wasn't the same.
It's very different.
Yeah.
Very different to going to work.
And then after that, I kind of wanted to stay like that and stay in this flow. And I was staying in this hostel with some people from the meditation retreat. We became like good friends. And then we're like, oh yeah, let's go eat afterwards. And I was like, oh, I don't even want to like set a time. I just want to go with the flow. Just go whenever I feel like doing things. Just do it when I feel like it. And then it was so crazy because there's so many synchronicities. Like we would never even plan to do things, but I would just bump into them, be like, oh yeah, let's go eat now. Okay, cool. And it was so nice to just like kind of, it felt like I was so much in the flow and I would just do things and they would always be the perfect timing. And that's what I mean, where I felt really sure of what I'm doing. And then I'd be like, okay, I'm going to do this now. And then you bump into a friend or, so you didn't even need to plan things because things would just kind of happen the way they're supposed to happen. And that was quite nice. And I felt like, oh, this is how I'm supposed to live. But obviously, the way society is made now, you cannot live like that. Like you have to have a plan and but I don't know, it was so weird because it felt so like natural and I could just do whatever I wanted and everything would always work out like the best way possible and not having to structure your life so like
meticulously.
Yeah,
no, I understand that too. I often think about synchronicity as like checkpoints for life and like fate, because I feel like the more I can understand about the stuff that I'm supposed to be doing, but like not like in a way that I have to do them. So for example, if I'm saying, okay, I want to meet someone, right? And I go to this event, for example, how we met, right?
Yeah.
You come to the poetry open mic, we start talking. That's a synchronistic moment because there's no planning there. There's no like, you know what I mean? Like there is no, okay, I'm going to do this and then this result will come from it. It's just in that moment, doing what feels natural to you.
Yeah, and I feel like that's how we were as kids, right? Like kids operate like that.
Absolutely.
They don't have like, oh, at 3 p.m. and blah, blah. No, they just do whatever they want, what they feel like they want to do. And they kind of, obviously the parents kind of always look after them. But I feel like that's how we're supposed to live as humans. But obviously, like with the way society is built, there's no way you can live like that now, except if you lived like, I don't know, in some tribe somewhere.
Right, and then you could just be there. Okay, I want to come back to kind of a point where you made in one of the answers you gave before about the old self. You were talking about how during this retreat you found that you were able to kind of become someone new, and then you kind of went back to your old self when you were back to London. That kind of tension.
Yeah, I wouldn't say like exactly like I didn't get like depressed again after that. I think it was more like the meditation retreat was very intense. I was a very like high, and then I came back to like neutral kind of thing.
Because I'm fascinated by this, right? I've been on this kind of journey of kind of trying to understand the different selves that we inhabit in different points of our lives, because when I was a kid, I loved football. And that was me. I was known as the football guy.
Yeah.
And everything I did was just football, play football all day. And then if you see me now, I don't play football as much. I'm doing poetry, I'm doing podcasts. Those two selves are like opposing in a sense. Some people would think, right? Friends that I know from childhood, they meet me now, like, I can't believe you're doing this. But like life is linear. I was always going to be on this trajectory.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the path was always going to lead here because that's just how my path of life has gone. So you get me thinking about how we compartmentalize ourselves in our own heads as old self, new self, self at peace, self not at peace, but it's all one. What has your relationship been with like the different versions of yourself? Especially my question.
Mm.
Easy question, right?
My relationship with different versions of myself. Um, oh no, maybe there was I think there was a time, for example, when I was younger, when I was like a teenager, I went through like a tough time.
Mm,
Um, and then I think going out of that, so I was like bullied at school, and
mm,
then I felt a lot of shame around that.
mm,
And then I had a very hard time even like accepting that. And then it was almost like, oh no, that wasn't me, or like that.
mm.
Oh, it was almost like, oh, I don't want to, like,
Associate with that version
yeah,
of
or it's like
yourself. Yeah.
I'm not, that didn't happen to me, or I don't identify with that, or it's almost like I don't want to talk about it. Like
Mm,
I wouldn't tell anyone about
mm,
it because I was so ashamed.
mm.
And then I think later on, you just accept that version of yourself later on, like your past self, and you think, well, you know, I kind of forgive myself because I guess I didn't at the time, and I almost had like an anger or like this shame about myself, and
Mm.
kind of wishing that never happened to me, or feeling like you suck because this happened to you. And then I think, yeah, as time goes on, you just kind of accept that version of yourself, and you forgive yourself, and you're like, well, I every time, like in every phase of my life, I was trying my best, and I think that's the best you can do. And definitely sometimes I would cringe when I think of how I was as a teenager, for example.
We all do.
But I guess that's just how I was, and I think I just have to accept that version of myself, and also think, well, that was me at the time, and that was me trying my best. And maybe in 10 years I'll cringe about me right now, right? Like that's just how it is.
That's growth, right?
Yeah.
I think so important, this idea of like accepting your past selves is so important to like understanding where you are today. Because I feel like a lot of people that I speak to have this question around like, how do I find my thing? How do I find peace? So how do I find, I guess synchronicity of like merging of selves, right? And I always say you have to go back to when you didn't understand yourself. It's almost like going back to that child within you and talking to them. I wrote this piece like years ago I was talking to a child version of myself about love. I was like, oh, like I know why you kind of hold your heart. I know why you guard your heart because of these things, and these things aren't the case anymore. And you can
Oh, right.
kind of talking, because I had conceptualized the kid as like a kid with a massive sword and a massive shield, but that was too heavy for him to hold. And I was like, these are too heavy for you to hold. You got to let go of these, and kind of like that kind of relationship, that kind of dialogue with my idea of myself as a kid, and having that kind of conversation with it helped me in the moment, come to terms of how I was kind of making my decisions. So I think it's very important for people to kind of like revisit themselves, or revisit like different versions of themselves, and make peace with it. Because I think that's how you kind of find peace. That's how you kind of find the next version. You have to allow yourself to, and then you can
Yeah,
move forward,
yeah, for sure. I
move
think you
forward and
can't
grow.
move forward if you're still stuck in the past, right? And
Mm,
if you're still, like if you didn't get over past trauma or past difficulties, like you need to kind of heal from these things so that you can like grow,
mm,
basically.
mm.
I think.
What do you think about the idea of like letting go of stuff in order to go forward? Like, do you know what I'm trying to say? Like
Yeah.
the idea of like letting go of like certain things in your old life. Like for me, for example, right? I had to let go of a lot of like anger, or a lot of like confusion that I had about my upbringing, like a lot of like anxiety. I had to let go of anxiety a lot because it was like, okay, I was trying to understand the world around me, and I was like, okay, that's never gonna happen. Like the world is always in flux, it's changing. You can understand yourself, but you can never really understand the world. And then letting go of that kind of anxiety around understanding the world allowed me to kind of focus on myself. And it was like, okay, I had to do that in order to go forward. What do you think about that idea of like letting go? And the reason I'm staying on this topic is because I want people to understand what it's like to kind of grow as who you are. in different places. Like I talked at the beginning of the episode, you know, it isn't just like, oh, I come to London and everything's fine. You can't just go to a new place and everything's fine. There's a lot of internal work that you have to do in order to become who you are. And I think in that conversation we're having about you going to all these different places is a lot of internal work that you had to do and understanding about yourself in order to become who you are today. So that's why I'm trying to like stay on the topic about, okay, how do people do that? What are the steps people can take in order to find that path for themselves, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, on that topic, like how do you understand like letting go? What is that? What role does letting go play in becoming who you are?
I think that's the only way really, is to let go with everything. So I think like I always was quite interested in, I would say, Eastern philosophies like Buddhism. I'm also quite interested in Hinduism and things like that. But for example, in Buddhism, they always say how you should never be attached to anything. And basically attachment only gives you suffering. And I think there's a lot of truth in that, and that you need to let go in order to grow and in order to feel at peace, I would say. Because if you're too attached to something, and it's true, I think that will only give you suffering because things change all the time, right? But being attached to something is almost like wanting this thing to stay permanent, but it's never going to stay permanent because everything is always changing. So you kind of like in this illusion that's just not based in reality, and that will only give you like bring you suffering. So yeah, I think it's really important to let go of everything.
Yeah, and I think it's also like once you let go, it's also like moving forward with conviction. You know, I've been thinking about this idea of the self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, I want to know what you think about this. You know, the idea.
That like when you think of something and then it happens.
Yeah, it's like you kind of make it happen by thinking about it.
So that is that like manifestation?
Kind of, which is what I'm not sure, which is what I want to talk about. Like the idea of like, because I looked at the phrase and I was like, that's so interesting. It's self-fulfilling. You know, it's like you have to fulfill your idea of self in order for it to come true. I thought that's such an interesting way of phrasing it because, you know, within like, say for example, for me, right, when I went from, okay, I want to do poetry, I wasn't a poet just because I said I wanted to do poetry.
Yeah.
I had to say, okay, I want to do poetry. I remember I was telling my friends, I am now a person who does poetry.
Yeah.
They were like, what are you talking about, bro? You play football. Like, I was like, no, refer to me as poet because I'm a poet.
Right.
And I hadn't even written a poem yet.
Yeah.
You know, but it was like the idea of like, I am now this poet. And so now I want to be a poet. And so me writing, me fulfilling that kind of like identity helped me grow into that. And I think that's so important for people to understand because some people feel like they have to be ready. They have to be ready to be something, you know, they get imposter syndrome, you know, you go into a new place, oh, I'm not ready for this. And it's like, well, no, you got to give yourself time.
Yeah.
You know, you got to give yourself time to grow into it. I think that's so important.
Yeah.
What do you think about what are some of the good and bad parts about going to a new place? Because I feel like that's kind of coming back to what we were talking about before, about traveling, because that's what we started and we went on this amazing tangent. Yeah, what are some of the good parts about going to a new place? What are some of the bad parts people need to be aware of?
Yeah, I think it's like a very how can I say, like I think it's almost like a personality thing. Like some people love moving to different countries, you know, like having these different experiences, and some people are very happy like staying in the same place. And I think it's also, it depends on what you value as a person. And for me, I get so much out of moving to a new place, like discovering a new culture, but also like moving to a new place is different than traveling, right? Because when you travel, you usually only see the good sides of things. But when you really live in the place, you see the whole, like every part of it, like the good and the bad sides. And it's very interesting. I'm very interested in different cultures, different countries, and things like that, which is, I think, why I love traveling and I love like moving to new places.
What are some of the best places? What are some of the most memorable places that you've seen?
I've seen
In your travels.
on my travels.
Let's be very broad.
Honestly, like I think when I'm solo traveling, I have like
The best time.
yeah, it's like a very, I would say like I really enjoyed the trips I've done like solo.
Are you not scared to solo travel?
No, I mean the first time I was scared. Yeah, I don't know if I was scared. It was more like I was like nervous, but I was also excited at the same time. Um, but I think it's really like solo traveling really takes you out of your comfort zone, which is why I like it so much because you're really like by yourself. And I'm someone who like if I'm by myself for too long, I'm like, okay, I kind of want to like hang out with someone or I want to talk to someone, you know. So I have to like go up to people and make friends with them.
Mm.
But that obviously like takes you out of your comfort zone as well. And like sometimes you're like, oh no, like I'm gonna go for dinner. I don't mind eating by myself, but it's nice to have someone else to have dinner with. Then
Mm.
you have to like find someone. And it just feels like an adventure. Whereas when I travel with like friends or like my partner, I feel
Mm.
a little bit more in my comfort zone because I can rely on them and I don't like I'm not really out of my comfort zone. It's just like I'm traveling with someone else and obviously like it's a different kind of experience. It's also really fun and
Mm.
but I feel like it's more I'm focusing more on the person than
Mm.
on the place.
Mm-hmm.
Like the person will be more of like a priority and then the place is like second priority. But when I'm by myself, the place is really like the priority and I'm really focusing on the history and the culture and everything. So I just feel like I discover it more when I'm by myself. Whereas in like sometimes if I'm with like a friend or yeah, a boyfriend or something,
Mm.
I guess I would focus more on them and not necessarily pay as much attention to the
And the
places.
adventure that you can go on by yourself also is like you said, you're forced to kind of talk to people, and then that
Yeah.
opens up a door of like, oh, like what are you doing? And then
And it feels so random. You feel like anything can happen, you know, like
mm.
such random things happen. Like I remember, well, I was actually traveling with a friend in Bali,
Mm.
but then I don't remember what she was doing, but I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go walk around by myself. I don't remember why, but anyway, I was by myself. And then I just walked into this like temple. And then I didn't realize that was actually someone's house. I
Oh
thought it was a
wow.
temple, but it was someone's house, and I just, like, went into their garden and stuff, and then they were so nice, and they were like, "Oh, like, come have, like, this drink with us," and they gave me, like, homemade alcohol,
Oh wow.
and they were so nice, and it's just, like, experiences like that I feel like I don't always have when I'm traveling with friends. Because my friends would have probably been like, "Oh, no, don't go there, like, I
Yeah.
don't think that's a temple," or I mean, it does happen, but I do think, like, when I'm by myself, I do a bit, like, kind of random things like that where or, like, I remember when I was, like, in Morocco by myself, and I went to this market, and I would just have tea with all the people, like, selling like, from the market, and everyone would give me tea, and I, like, just talk to them. But I know if I was, like, with a friend, it's probably like, "Okay, let's go to the next stand, let's go to the next stand," and yeah, it's just not the same, I guess.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's yeah, there's the like living life as an adventurer almost.
Yeah,
You know, where you're going to discover things rather than going with an itinerary, trying to hit everything on the
exactly,
itinerary and make sure that
exactly,
you get
yeah.
through the day. So it's like finding that balance is super important. I think like yeah, no, I think one thing I always want to talk about too is like when we go to these different places, we become different versions of ourselves, but we also meet different types of people. So talk to me about your friendships that you've made on your travels. So you went from Japan to London. What are some of the
Oh,
kind
you
of
mean where I was living or on my
or
travels?
when you were living, or you were
Oh,
living?
okay.
How have you found making friends? Has it been difficult when you go to a new place?
Well, I think I was quite lucky because so every time I moved to a place, it would be quite easy to make friends because I'll be either at university or working.
Mm.
So I would either become friends with my colleagues or like other students.
Mm.
But I think Morocco is going to be the first time where I'll really have to make an effort to make friends because I'll be probably working from home
Mm.
most of the time. So I really have to find a way to meet people
Mm.
because I'm not going to be, you know, in the same space as other people, basically.
Yeah, a lot of going to the market and having tea, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
No, having tea with the people just there talking and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's often difficult when you go to a new place. I think I struggle with most new places like that, you know, to make friends because it's difficult to see how much of yourself you can be. You know what I mean? Like I find this to be anyway. Like say I went to a new like, you know, I've often moved not to different countries but to different parts of London. And if I move to a different part of London, if I'm not living with a friend, you know, I'll be kind of with other people and I'm like, okay, how do I bridge the gap between okay, who I am and who I need to be in this situation? And so I think it's very tough, I think I found for, you know, to make friends. And I think a lot of people are finding I mean, that's the question I'm asking. And do you find that a lot of other people are finding it difficult to make friends? Do you see that as like a thing in London, that people in London find it difficult to kind of maintain and have friends for like long term?
I think in general, the older we get, the harder it seems to make friends. Because I think, well, first of all, I think when we're younger, when we're kids or even at uni, friendships have such a high priority in our lives. And usually for most people, it's like our number one priority is friends,
Mm.
especially when you're young and you're going out and things like that. And then as you get older, your priorities shift. Like your career is more important, it also takes up so much more space in your life. And then, of course, your family, your partner is much more important. So the friends kind of take a like a backseat. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's hard to make friends because people don't prioritize it as much anymore.
Mm.
And also, then another reason is that most people already have their friends.
Mm.
So that's another reason why it's hard, right? Like when everyone's already got their friends, they might not be looking to make new friends. So I would say those are the main reasons why
Do you think that's a
as you
good
get older, it's harder to, yeah.
do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing? The fact that most people already have their friends, the fact that most people already have partners and families are important. Do you think, yeah, where do you stand on it? Do you think it's a good thing that we already have it, or do you wish more people were making more friends and going out more?
I mean, I think there's only so much time you have in your day. And when most people have like 8 to 9 hours a day already dedicated to their job,
Mm.
it's not that they don't want to. I'm sure they'd want to make more friends. They just don't have the time, right? And that's the thing about becoming an adult. It's like you just don't have the time anymore that you had at uni when you usually have like the time, all the time in the world. And yeah, I think it's not even a fact that they don't want to. It's more like they literally don't have the capacity because when you already had like a hard day at work and everything, you might just want to meet your close friends that you can really talk to and be yourself with
Mm.
rather than meet a new person and having to, make small talk, get to know them. Like that's also like effort, right?
Mm. Mm.
So I think if you don't need to do that, I don't see why you would.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, I think the reason I asked that question because I feel like there's a loneliness epidemic going on in our generation. More people are feeling lonely,
Like
and
our generation,
like I guess
like
Gen
young.
Z,
I'm millennial actually.
millennial slash Gen Z. I think
So what? That's like let's say people in their like 20s and 30s,
yes.
or
So there's a loneliness epidemic because even though we're connected, we don't find community. We don't find genuine connections. It's all like text and it's all like very like surface level. Unless you meet your friend and have like a deep conversation with. Apart from that, everywhere else you go, you have very shallow relationships.
yeah. I wonder if that's like a city thing. I feel like that happens a lot in big cities because I don't know. I feel like in smaller towns you have much more of this community kind of
Absolutely.
feeling. But in big cities, like I said, first of all, people are, much more career driven. And so they're busy with that. And then I think it's harder because like so many people in one place that you kind of feel in a weird way, like you feel disconnected from everyone because like you feel like, I don't know, like, yeah, alone in the crowd, because there's so many people around you that, yeah, I guess whether you're there or not, no one would really notice. Whereas in like in a small town, you really feel like you have a place there.
Mm.
And also people are just less busy. There's less things, less like distractions. So you can probably meet your friends much more regularly than in a big city where like everyone's got different friends and I think that I definitely had that in Tokyo as well and
Mm.
in London where I mean probably also at the beginning when you just move to the place and people are so busy and then you end up meeting the person like once a month and you're like, okay, like I don't even feel like we're getting closer because I only meet you like once a month or even less than that.
Mm.
But it's because like people are just so busy and
I agree. I agree. I think about this a lot actually. About like we're not taught how to maintain friendships as adults when we're kids. When we're kids, it's all proximity. I'm around you, so you're my best friend. I do the same things as you, so you're my best friend.
yeah.
But as you get older, it's all about intentionality. It's about me being intentional. And you're right, everyone is busy. Everyone's got, but then it's very hard to maintain long-term friendships, especially
Yeah.
if you're someone who likes deep connections.
And I think that's also what makes it harder as an adult to make friends is that you don't have this thing you're going to, except again, if it's like work or
Mm-hmm.
like when I did uni, but except of that, it's really hard to become friends with someone if you're not regularly going to the same thing together.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the best thing would be probably to like join like a sports club or whatever, some hobby or something.
Yeah, apart from that, what are some other ways that people can fight the loneliness epidemic? That they, like, if they're trying to make friends, if people out there thinking, oh my God, you know, Mario's so cool, I want to be a friend. What are some other ways people can like become more open and like find more of their kind of community, let's say?
I think, yeah, like I said, you need to go to something regularly. Like, for example, like, I don't know, like a painting class or, like badminton club or
Poetry open mic.
poetry open mic.
Can't believe you didn't say that.
Oh my God,
I
sorry.
was waiting for you. That was a great layup for that.
True, that's so true. I don't know why I didn't say that. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, but that's how you find your community, right? Is by doing these kind of activities that people have in common, that people are passionate about. Because I do think there are communities in London. It's just harder to find them because there's so many. And I see it, for example, with my friend who's very much in the creative industry, and she knows all these people in the creative industry and knows, so there are these communities. It's just harder to find them,
Mm-hmm.
I think. So you kind of have to go out of your way to find them. But I think it's just joining these types of events or yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, yeah, like I said, it's all about intentionality when you're an adult. It's what about making it clear that you want to invest in the connection and actually
Yeah.
for the long term.
But I would say that's kind of like personally, what I think make adult friendships more meaningful, because you're really friends with this person because you actually like this person and not just because you're in the same class. Like sometimes I feel like as kids or as teenagers, you're friends with these people, but you don't even really have anything in common with them.
Absolutely.
And then you try to be like them to like fit in, but then you don't have even the same interests, but you're just together in the same space, and that's why you're friends. Whereas in like as an adult, you're friends because you genuinely like the person or because you genuinely have like a similar interests or passion.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I do think it can make it more meaningful.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in primary school, I remember I was friends with someone because they had the same shoes. Like, he was like, oh, you have the same shoes. Like, obviously, our moms were in the same place.
Cute.
Had nothing. It's not cute. We're not friends. You're right, you're right. It's a little bit cute. It's a little bit cute. But like, yeah, we were friends, not really like anything in common. And so it's very hard to maintain that friendship when you get older. But now it's different. You know, we have more intentionality and you can build it. Because I think friendships, the world of friendships in modern culture, it's not as talked about upon, because I feel like
Yeah.
a lot of people will silo themselves into, and I know I've done this in the past, into romantic relationships, and that becomes your everything, your best friend, your other friend, your everything. And I think that's puts too much pressure on the person, and I think we can soften that by having other people and other friends. We just gotta let ourselves be open to that kind of I guess adventure, because you're right, it could be a waste of time because the other person could not be as intentional as you are. But then that's the process of you finding that out.
But I also feel like as I get older, I'm much better at getting the right impression of the person. So when I meet someone, I can be quite quick now at knowing if I like them or not, or if I would get along with them, if we could be friends or not. Whereas in like when I was younger, I don't think I had like a good judgment. So I'll be friends with people who be really toxic, or friends with people who are like, just like not nice people, or just like toxic people. But I wouldn't even realize that what they're doing were red flags. And I'll be like, oh, but they're my friends, so I guess that's normal. Or like, we'd be very toxic with each other, like codependent. Whereas in now, I'm quite quick at seeing the red flags in a person and being like, oh no, I don't want to be like with this person, because I can see that, for example, they attract a lot of drama or like, stuff like that. So that also makes it easier in a way to find the right people, because
you get better at cutting out the bad.
Yeah, exactly. I think when you're young, you don't really see that, like bad behaviors quickly.
Yeah, man, that's an aspect of experience, right? You need to learn. On the flip side of that, actually, what are some of the things you've learned from your friends? Some of the good things. Okay, let me twist that question a little bit. What role has friendship played in who the person you are today? What role of your friends, I'm guessing positively, played in who you are today?
My God, I don't know.
I mean, I can speak for myself if you want to. So like I often say like my friends keep me balanced, because they're very honest to me, and like I feel like that's so important. And my friends have always understood I could do a lot of things, but like they don't treat me any differently. They're very like, like it's very chill. Like that's maybe not the best word to use, but it is very much like we've known each other for a long time. Because I often try to be as open as I can to people and friendly and like, and that's great, and I think people reciprocate that, which is so important. People will see that and be like, oh, okay, cool. I'm going to reciprocate the honesty. I'm going to reciprocate the vulnerability, which is like, as someone who's that way already, who likes to be open, who likes to be honest and vulnerable, having people around you who are able to kind of go from like, I don't know, joking to being vulnerable to being serious to talking about, like when I was younger, I was in a group of people who weren't like that, who kind of forced you to be like them and weren't accepting of who you are. But as I got older, I've been able to cut those people out. And now I'm with a group of friends who are always accepting of who I am.
Yeah, definitely.
Always allow me to be myself, always allow me to share things. So I think that's something I've learned from my friends and it's made me who I am today.
Yeah, and like I said before, I think I became much more intentional with my friends and really chose the right people to be my friends. Like if I can see that the person would be very judgmental or like closed-minded, then I'm like, no, I don't want to be this person's friend. And I think that's why I would say my friends are people where I feel so safe around now and where I could really be myself and I never feel judged or never feel supported, Like I told them like, oh, I want to start this TikTok and want to be a TikTok influencer. And no one would be like, oh, that's so cringe. Like everyone would be like, yes, do it. Like that's great. And they would, like support me by liking my TikToks and stuff. And I think, yeah, those are the kind of friends I want. I don't want to have people who would be judgmental or be like, oh, like that's so weird. And I think I've had friends like that in the past. And yeah, you just don't want to be around those kinds of people.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's not the right kind of environment to be in. Looking forward now,
Yeah.
Morocco.
Yes.
Yes. Talk to me about what you hope to find there in an aspect of like what kind of growth or like, what are you looking forward to? What was some of the stuff that, you've gone from Japan to London now to Morocco. It's been, I'm guessing, an interesting journey all three of them. What you've been to Morocco before, obviously, too.
Yes.
What are you looking for? What are you hoping to find? What's some of the stuff that you're hoping to kind of gain from that experience?
Well, I guess this is a different kind of move because I feel like this is the first time I'm not really moving for myself, but for my partner. So it feels different because the reason that I'm moving is not really for myself obviously I'm not like, it's not just for him. I also want to go there, right? Like it's not like I don't want to go at all. And it is also for myself. But if he wasn't there, I probably wouldn't go there kind of thing. So, which feels different because when I moved to London or Japan, it was very much just for me. So I think that's just something that I'm looking forward to, just like living with my partner and, seeing how it goes and building something with him. Um, I think that's quite exciting for me because it's like my first time being really serious with someone. And I think apart from that, it's also an opportunity for me to really try to do something new and something else. But yeah, I don't know. The thing is, like, I don't want to have too many expectations because I kind of just want to see how it goes and hope for the best. But I know also like all the bad sides with moving. Like, it's really hard, especially at the beginning and a lot of admin, a lot of like, having to meet new people and making friends. I think like career wise, yeah, I'm just gonna have to see how it goes, basically. I have a lot of ideas of things I want to do, and I really do want to do them. Like start a business. I found a job that I can do, but I don't know how like well it will pay in the long term and things like that. So yeah, I just need to kind of take it as I go.
Take it as it comes. Yeah, no, I think honestly, I'm proud of you. I think it's big to move countries and to move places just to see what it's like, and I think a lot of that will pay dividends in the future because you would have met a different part of yourself. I think everywhere that you go, you meet different parts of yourself. The places will change a little bit, I'm guessing Japan did that. I'm guessing London has done that, like we were talking about before. I'm sure Morocco will also do that too. You become a different version of you and you'll grow into that person too. And I think it takes bravery to take that first step. It's always very brave because you don't know what's on the other side. I think that's what stops most people. I think most people watching this, I know a few of my friends are the same, where they want to go to a different place because London, they don't like London. It's too cold, it's too miserable. The buses don't work, the trains don't work, too much miserable stuff here. But they're afraid. They're afraid of the fear. They're afraid of what it's like to kind of like make that step. What would you say to those people? Like, you've made this step a couple of times.
I think for me, I just do it because I do it without thinking. I
Don't think, guys.
yeah,
Just book the
basically
ticket.
just do it. Don't think about it
Yeah.
that much. I don't think about things that much. But then afterwards, like for example, when I left Japan, I wasn't really thinking much, and then I was like, oh shit, I like kind of lost. But then you learn from it, I think I'm someone who I think there's like kind of like two types of people. Like either someone who like overthinks a lot and really prepares and is like, okay, what if this happens? What if that happens? I need to be prepared for it. And then people who just do things and then things probably don't work out. And then
figure
they
out.
learn from that. And then I think I'm someone who just does things and I kind of figure it out as I go, and I don't have, I don't have it figured out. And I'm aware, at least now I'm aware that like things might not work out, like, career wise or whatever. But at least I'm aware of that. But I'm thinking I'll just figure it out basically. And yeah. And also just not, I guess, take it so seriously. Um, but also I would say make sure you do have a plan. Because I have tried things without having a lot of like almost no plan, and that did not work out well. And I could have avoided that if I'd at least thought about it a little bit more.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess there's like a balance. You do have to think about it at least a little bit and be aware that it won't work out.
Yeah.
But then don't make that like stop you, and it's not, even if it doesn't work out, like it's fine. You just
I agree. I think thinking a lot has helped. Sometimes it gives you some perspective, but then there's also you can think yourself into inaction. So
yeah.
don't think yourself into inaction. At some point, I always do this thing where I set myself a deadline. If I've not made a decision by then, I just do it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's good.
a few kind of like sometimes I'm like, okay, if I can't decide, the answer is no. Sometimes also. So if I'm like stuck between two choices, I don't know where to go. It's like if I'm not like pulled toward this thing, there's a reason why. So the answer is probably no. But if I'm like, I want to do it and I don't do it, I set myself a deadline today by 3 p.m. I'm going to do it. And then I'm like, okay, cool, it's out of my hands now. I have to do it. So I think little stuff like that will help. I think,
But yeah, you do have to be prepared, obviously. But
yeah, be prepared. Don't just like move and then like, oh no, my luggage. Yeah, there's stuff like that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're going to have a great time. I think I'd love to come and visit you guys.
Yeah, you should come.
I've never been to Marrakesh. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. Morocco's in Africa, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. That's sorry. Everyone's laughing at me.
What?
I don't know. I thought it was like,
In Europe?
not Africa, somewhere. But no, I'd love to go back and see the motherland again. It'd be lovely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope you have a great time. Thank you so much for speaking with me today. I love this conversation. I always love speaking with you. I think you have an very interesting way of viewing things, very interesting perspective, very interesting experiences.
Thanks.
And I think Morocco is going to be one of those too. So thank you for your time
Yeah,
today.
let's see how it goes. I'm excited. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Until next time. Peace.